Madman. You're a madman. You already had your bishop and your knight hanging. This is not how you play chess. This is madness. Madness. This is Trojaaaaaa!
Hello guys, in today's video I'm going to be filling some exciting gaps in my old Trojan Gambit video. So, to get the Trojan Gambit you need to be facing the English opening, and you go e5, and after knight to c3 you offer the d pawn, and if they capture you offer the c pawn, and if they capture you take back with your knight. This is basically a reverse Smith-Morra Gambit, which you usually play against the Sicilian defense with white pieces. And now since we are black, we are down a tempo, which is not great, but what is nice, the most usual setup by English players is if they go g3 and bishop to g2, which is known not to be very effective against the Smith-Morra. So this offers an opportunity for some really quality traps, and yeah, let's dive into this. By the way, I call this the Trojan Gambit because this structure resembles a horse, at least to me. And if you look closely, there is also some grass down here that the horse is feeding on. Anyways, let's continue. Pawn to g3, we go knight to f6, bishop to g2, and bishop to c5. Now, in my old video, I noticed I have only been covering lines where they play pawn to d3, because it was the most played move back then, like 2 years ago. But the times have changed, and now the most popular move here is pawn to e3. And the reason is simple. More and more people are suffering from what I call the capital B to c5 phobia. And what I mean is, people see we play bishop to c5 and they get the uncontrollable urge to just block this bishop. So they play pawn to e3, which is already a mistake, making the position better for black. From here you can actually choose if you want to end the game quickly or you would like to play with your foot. So what I mean by that, you have two good moves here: bishop to f5 or knight to b4. Knight to b4 is the stockfish recommendation, but let me just cover the bishop to f5 line, as this sets a very cool trap, because here 75% of the time people are going to be playing knight g to e2, which is a mistake, and already black is -2. Thanks to the fact that we go knight to b4 and now we are threatening to fork them. And how is white going to prevent this? Well, most guys are going to get castled, but now we hit them with this cool bishop to c2, hitting the queen, and then knight to d3 traps the queen right in the opening. So this is just a quick trap in this line, but Stockfish is recommending knight to b4, and it is also probably just more fun. Thanks to this move, we are now threatening to go knight to d3 check, which would be super annoying for white to deal with. And there is like two ways to handle this position. They can either go king to f1, which is a move played precisely 0% of the time, or they can push pawn to d4, which is the most played move, and a good one, as now the queen is controlling the d3 square, so we cannot go there. But now we can capture this pawn, they are going to recapture, and queen captures. This way we are now threatening a checkmate, and basically we force them to exchange the queens, which is also what most guys are going to be doing. But also there is this queen to e2 check. I'll cover this move in a while. Let's start with queen exchange variation, because this is like super fun. The reason is, we are now threatening to fork them, and there is not a simple way to deal with this. Well, I mean, yeah, the simple way and the correct move here is king to f1, and after that we could get castled and the position is still super nice for black. But king to f1 is not played very often, because seemingly logical move is to cover the c2 square with king to d2 or king to d1. Let's start with king to d1, as this is the most fun in my opinion. So here we can hit them with bishop to g4 check. And 9 out of 10 English opening players are agreeing that pawn to f3 is the way to go here. But little do they know we don't care about the bishop. We played bishop to g4 to get long castled and align our rook with their king. And what do they do here? Well, for example, if they capture foolishly the free bishop, now we have bishop captures on c3, a discard check from our rook. King is forced to go to e2. We bring all of our stuff to the middle. And now, like the correct move here is to hang the bishop like this. But who would play that? I think obviously they would play bishop to e3. We can hit them with knight to c2, forking the rook and the bishop. And a funny line, if they would try to protect the rook and also perhaps try to, pin one of our pieces. Here we have this beautiful checkmating sequence with a ladder checkmate, which looks like this. And this is almost a checkmate. The only small detail is they can capture the rook, but we hit them with the rook to e4 check. And after they unsuccessfully try to capture the rook, only to realize that this is a double check, then they move the king somewhere and they get checkmated like this. So a funny line to know about in this variation. Let's go back. They cannot capture the bishop on g4, but what do they do? Well, the most played move here is bishop to d2, trying to block the d file. And now bishop to e3, which has been played in all 3 games in this position, is a super good move and probably the best one. But the funniest one is this. Bishop captures on c3, because they are going to recapture. And now we have this crazy knight to e4. What a beautiful move. Just having all the pieces hanging. Well, the knight is technically not hanging because the pawn is pinned. But anyways, what a crazy position. I love this position. It hasn't been reached yet, so you can be the first one. So let's break it down. What can white do here? Well, the worst thing they can do is capture the bishop, because this is a checkmate in 3. We capture this with a check. If they move to the right, we have this check and then this checkmate. And if they move to the left, then we have something similar like here. And rook to f2 is a checkmate, but you can also just hang your knight just out of disrespect and then checkmate them. Okay, so capturing the light square bishop is never a way to go for them. What they should do here is capture this horse. Well, but in this case, we grab this dark square bishop, and yeah, let's just see what happens if they go to the right. We capture this, and yeah, they can grab one of our pieces, and the material is actually equal for a while, but we have this killer move, rook to d8. Now we are threatening a checkmate, as this square is covered with the bishop as well, and basically the only way for them is to move this knight somewhere and just hand it to us for free. And if they capture the bishop instead, well, then just knight to f2 and we are winning their rook for free. So not very good for white. And if they go to the left, well, we still capture this, and after whatever they capture, we have this very strong rook to e8, threatening all sorts of discoveries, and yeah, we are winning, don't worry. I don't want to spend your whole day showing you all the lines, but maybe just this one funny line. If they would play rook to c1 check, we can go king to d7. And if they follow it up with another check, now we have this aggressive counter check and blocking their check at the same time, and also checkmating them on the next turn. As in this position, they can only play knight to e2, and then we can checkmate them like this. Okay, let's go back. This was all possible in the line where they played king to d1 after bishop to g4 check. I mean, the other way around. So just to remind everybody, we got to the Trojan gambit and they played pawn to e3, a mistake. We went knight to b4, threatening knight to d3 check. They correctly played pawn to d4. After this exchange, they also exchanged the queens, and then they decided to play king to d1, and we went bishop to g4 check. What if they play king to d2? In this case, white has robbed us from the option of playing bishop to g4 check, so we play bishop to f5 instead and target the c2 square. Now, as you can see, it is minus 3.5. Everything is here winning for black. So let's just talk about the most common line here. And the most played move is pawn to a3, hitting our knight and making it minus 5.3. So we go knight to c2 and counter hit their rook. They are probably not going to be playing a rook to b1, as now the rook is hit with the x-ray of our bishop. So the most played move is a rook to a2. And now we just capture the knight on c3, b captures, and we get long castled, forcing their king to go to e2. And now we hit them with bishop to d3 check. And all of a sudden it is minus 7. They can now choose. They either go back to the d file, where we can hit them with a discard check from our rook, and after they move the king or block the check, we have bishop captures on g2, and they cannot save the rook. Yes, they can capture the knight, but in the end we are up a rook and winning. And if they don't wish to go back to the d file after this bishop to d3 check, they can go to f3, which happens to be a forced checkmating sequence after knight to e1 check. But, you know, I'm not going to be showing the whole sequence. You figured out. Now, guys, let's go back. And the last line I want to talk about is, after queen captures on d4, how about they throw in this queen to e2 check? So, seems to be scoring pretty good for white. I mean, not pretty good, but better than the other lines. So what to do here? Well, we block the check with our bishop, and now they are going to be harassing our queen. They either play knight to f3, which is already a losing blunder, thanks to knight to d3 check, and usually they go f1, and we can capture on f2. And after this exchange, this is also minus 4.9, and now probably they will try to save the rook, but actually it only makes the position worse for them. We have ideas of bringing this bishop here with the check, getting castled, bringing the rooks in the middle and just crushing white. So knight to f3 is not a way to go for them. The good move here is bishop to e3, which is the most played one, but still knight to d3 check, king to f1, and now we go queen to c4. They should capture this bishop, and we can recapture. Let our knight be hanging, because actually it is not capturable thanks to bishop to c4 pinning their queen to the king. So what they should do after this move, actually there is only one playable continuation for white here, and yeah, it is not very findable. It is bishop to h3. Now we would get castled, and they should be capturing this, and after we recapture, they still cannot capture the knight, because we would overwhelm them on the f2 square with the knight to g4. And what they should do, also by the way, queen captures on e6, they losing blunder. What they should do is play knight to h3, and this way they have survived with us having only 0.9 advantage, the stockfish claims. Alright guys, hopefully you found this video fun, and thanks for watching. Take care, stay safe, and bye!